live.
Are we live?
Oh, yeah.
Quote Bart Simpson.
Just
At which point did we go live?
just when I said it, actually, it was probably a few seconds after I said it. I started the thing, and then so yeah, it's happening.
What's happening now?
It's the Geeky Gamer podcast. I'm not gonna. You read this stuff, and I'm.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, I thought you said you'd do it. You said it was.
If you want me to do it. Hi, everyone. This is the Geeky Gamer podcast, where we are two very put together individuals who talk to people about what they are geeky about. Do you get it? That's the name of the title of the show. It's very clever, and we thought about it for hours. Anyway, thank you to Couchfire Media for the media production. If you're seeing this sexy graphic, you need to call up Couchfire Media. You know how you find them? www.couchfiremedia.com. Boom. Want to thank the Patreon peoples. Nostalgic, Natalia Cline. Who are the other Tim Roberts? Mr. Daniel Holker. I know them by heart. I recite them.
Daniel Holker.
Yeah. Write you guys poems. Think about it all the time. If you want to join the Patreon, you know how to do that. If you don't, I'm sorry. Anyone else? Oh, do we have music today? We got music today. All lowercase letters. You can find them. Just Google it. All lowercase letters. You're going to find it. Mr. Interrupt. Boom, thank you. And you got Ken, Howl, and myself. And tonight, got an interesting guest. From Canada.
Canadian.
Hey Tyler. Who are you?
Hey, Bill. I'm a Canuck. I'm one of those, untrustworthy Canadians because we look like everyone else. We just kind of blend in. And it's only when we start apologizing that we're even there.
I can smell you. It's
yeah. It's that glorious smell of beaver pelts mixed with a little bit of maple syrup and smoked hickory. I know.
Bacon is awesome.
Okay. Yes, it is. There's a reason we're known for it.
And maple syrup.
Yeah.
It's syrup.
I'm unfortunately Canadian enough that my daughter makes us go out in the snow and make maple syrup pops, where you boil the maple syrup down to condense it, and then you pour it into a line of the snow, and you roll a stick, and it makes kind of like a toffee.
What?
Yeah, fantastic.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? No, I have no idea.
No, I know, because you're in LA. Why? Where would you ever have snow for which to make this delicatessen? But
holy shit, that sounds awesome. I love maple syrup. I mean, you make candy out of it. You pour it in the snow.
Well, so you boil it. So you take the syrup and then you boil it so it evaporates off and condenses down, right? So you want to you make it go from syrup to like a really thick syrup, almost like molasses, and then you caramelize it, and then you pour it over the snow, and the snow then solidifies it, and because it goes from the hot to the cold, it makes it like a thick taffy kind of consistency. And
that's awesome. That's awesome.
There are instructions on how to do it on Google.
Yes,
maple syrup taffy.
I had no clue. No clue.
Syrup, no candy.
My daughter is learning about the French Canadian because we're on the prairies, so we have absolutely no connection to Quebec whatsoever. And I actually lived in Quebec for a while, so when my daughter started to learn French and learn about French Canadian history, they did Carnival and at their school, and it was one of the things that they were going to do. And then in typical fashion here in Alberta, we got a Chinook, which is warm wind and the kind of thing that Leonardo DiCaprio liked to complain about when they were filming The Revenant because it took away all their snow. And so we had a Chinook during their well, the school did. It is happening when they were trying to do this thing, and so she didn't get to do it, and she was really crushed about it. And I'm like, don't worry, sweetie. Then we're in Alberta. It'll drop to freezing probably in May. And sure enough, we've had a couple of really big blasts of snow where it got really, really bitter cold. You could only go out for a couple of minutes. So what better to do than dress my kid up like a marshmallow and make her roll a stick and forget about the snow, the cold, and have fun in the snow.
Now, what's a Chinook?
Yes, exactly. A Chinook is a warm front of air that comes from the Pacific over the Rocky Mountains and creates a high-pressure system that creates a warm, blowing wind over the prairies of Alberta. Fantastic! It's the greatest thing that not everybody in Canada gets to experience this. This is just a very small band of the Alberta province that I happen to be very close to. Montana gets it too, but they call it something different.
Yeah, they call it
like a trade wind. Yeah, they just call it wind. It's just a warm wind, you know. Yeah, but it's a strong wind. So 80 to 100 kilometers. So like 40 to 55 miles an hour wind gusts, sustained wind gusts. But it's warm. It's basically like God turned on a blow dryer, and it just
like this.
It's actually
it's like the Santa Ana and Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's the Santa Ana winds. Well, so the Santa Ana winds are what create the Chinooks over here. So it's it's a warm Pacific front, and it rises up over the Rocky Mountains. And then for us, it'll go from way below freezing to above freezing. And there's what they call the Chinook arch. So because it's this high pressure system, you can see the line of clouds. You have like clouds this way, and they're big and dark and ominous. And then you see the Rocky Mountains. They're all snow-capped, and this clear arch of blue sky. And it's just, it's very distinct and contrasted. And this warm wind blows down and warms everything up, and people forget that they live in a frozen hellscape for a day or two.
Buck Mudd says, this man, meaning you, this man knows the way of the Zen, Dad. Respect.
Thank you. I appreciate it, although I have no idea what you just said.
Oh, it means he. Namaste. All right, I'm going to pop off, be right back. I'm going to actually use my mic. So, continue.
Yeah. I'd love to introduce you a little bit. I know how Bill says that he likes it when you introduce yourself or whatever, but I'll give a little information about you from what I've
what we've Googled
off the internet. Apparently, you're an author who has written a sexy book called "The Power to Speak Naked." I presume that it's more motivational than sexy, and you can show that on our podcast. It's fine. I like the imagery. I listened to some of the podcasts that you were on. You're also an actor, and you were in a film called Door to Door that sounds interesting. Freddy versus Jason, Fargo, and I believe a made-for-TV movie called Carrie, and many, many, many others. I know a certain actor that is a co-host on this podcast that would be jealous of your IMDb account, which I have posted on the screen. You're a motivational speaker. I presume that's kind of where you are essentially in this moment, where you're doing a lot of that stuff, hence the book and promotion and stuff like that, as well as a trainer, a father, husband, a drummer, and you are a hockey player probably because you're from Canada. So like,
it's a good guess. I'm not just a hockey player. I'm weird, so I'm a goalie just to be like, super.
Oh, nice. I was a goalie, not in hockey. I was a soccer. Not the same thing, but I get the idea of having a whole bunch of shit like flying at you at the same time. Yeah. It's super exciting. So
how tall are you?
Oh, I'm short. I'm 5'8".
You're not that short. I'm 5'8".
I'm not that tall either. Not compared to what all the other goalies are right now. Right now in the NHL, if you're not 6'1", you're minuscule, which is depressing. Because like when I grew up, like Chris Osgood and Mike Vernon, both of them played in Detroit, but Mike Vernon played in Calgary, won the cup here in Calgary in '89. I was there to see them win the cup.
Oh, nice.
And Vernon's like 5'8", 5'9", Osgood's 5'8". So there I got to, when I was growing up, it wasn't unreasonable to think that I could be a goalie, and now it's like, ooh, little short, Foley, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, but I enjoy it.
The closest experience that I ever really had to hockey, I've skated in an ice rink before. There's not a lot of ice rinks in Kentucky. It's not a big sport. There's one. Yeah, and I skated on that, but I did a music video for Jeremy Roenick and his kid and met them. Nice. That was my, I guess, closest hockey experience, and that was fun. Surprisingly, all right guitar player. Singer, not so much, but you can't do everything. Hockey, guitar, that's enough.
That is. You mentioned Door to Door. William H. Macy plays guitar.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he was learning while we were filming.
It sounded like an intense film. But before we move on from hockey, do you have a favorite hockey video game?
Oh yeah, NHL 2004. That was kind of EA Sports. It's in the game. That was when sports mattered to me, and like I refused to play it on PlayStation. You could only play it on PC. Like a buddy of mine would play it on the PlayStation. I'm like, this is junk, man. You need to overclock this bastard and get the graphics up. So yeah.
Did it have that move where you could just like shift one way and then the other way and like score every time, or did they fix that by 2004?
No, so 2004 was kind of like the pinnacle of gameplay until you got to about like 2010, 2011, where they really tried to focus on game physics. And it was like 3 years into them doing like motion capture with players, and they had like celebration animations. They had a horrible feature in it where you could scan in your photo, because they had to scan in all the players. And so they were like, well, we have this engine, why don't we just let the people make their own avatar? But it didn't have all of the it
didn't map.
Yeah, it didn't map well, because they only had like 8 map points versus the 32 that they would normally do. So like you had like this weird look going on. It was brutal, but the gameplay was spectacular. It was one of the first times where you could do online play and
nice.
Play against people. I remember playing against guys in Russia, and like it was fun. It was fun playing guys in Sweden, a couple of guys from Denmark. Like it was neat. It was neat to have that community. They also had like a trading card feature, or maybe that was 2003's version.
That's kind of
cool.
You
could collect trading cards, but yeah, 2004 was kind of the pinnacle for me.
But not the PlayStation. It had to be PC.
Had to be PC.
Well, PS1. I mean, but there's a point where the consoles kind of took over, right?
Oh yeah. Now.
Yeah.
Now I would be like, oh yeah, no, play it on the PlayStation. What are you doing messing around? It's really hard to play. I mean, that at that time too, like you had part of the problem was PlayStation games were still doing read access, right? So you're reading a disc, and if you're playing on PC, you had it on your hard drive. So there was it limited the load times, and so like when you'd score, it didn't have to disc skip to go to the animation to play it to then come back. It just went to animation and came back, and they had crowd. It was the first time they had animated crowds, and the arena was 3D. Like it was awesome. Now I wouldn't play it on. You don't even find a computer with a CD-ROM drive or a DVD or a DV, or like you can't.
Nope.
It doesn't exist.
No, I don't have.
I'm sitting next to an iMac from 2009 that I used to communicate. So it does have a CD-ROM drive on it, but it doesn't work.
I rest my case.
it'll go in, it'll make the noise for a while, and then it'll stop, and then it'll spit it back out.
I was so sad when I had to upgrade my computers because now I have a whole right over here.
Tower.
You guys can't see it, but I'm looking at it. I got a tower of CD-ROM games that I can no longer play. Need for Speed Carbon, NHL 2000 to 2005. I've got like all the
have a PS2, man, or whatever.
Quake 1, 2, and 3. I've got.
Fuck yeah!
I've even got Duke Nukem on a micro floppy.
Oh yeah, that's pretty bad.
About 3.5.
Like old school.
Yeah. Or as my daughter calls it, the save icon.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I've wondered. Does anyone wonder? I've wondered. Does anyone wonder where those icons come from? And I could go down into a rabbit hole about that, but I'm not going to. My favorite ice hockey game is only one. There's only one for me, for the Nintendo.
Oh wow! Was that 93?
It's called
94.
It's called ice
94.
hockey.
Oh,
just ice hockey.
Yeah, it's for
I believe
the
that.
NES,
I believe
baby.
That. Yeah, because the Super Nintendo was the NHL 93 or
no,
I think
this is not
94.
the Super Nintendo. This is the Nintendo.
No.
Nintendo.
Yeah,
ice hockey.
Regular Nintendo.
And you can choose up to like
ice hockey
dudes, and you can make your team. You can have like the big fat dude who can
they were slow,
dude,
but they could take anybody.
Skinny, really fast. The normal guy.
Yeah.
Maybe it was only 4. Yeah.
There were three different sizes.
Yeah. Awesome.
That was great. That was a solid.
I don't know if you could get into fights on that one though.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah,
could you?
But they weren't good.
93, you could.
No. He's talking about the NES, the
original
Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, this is not the 90s, Ken. This was like
1988, 1989. I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
See, my Canadian came out again.
88.
And I remember exactly what you're talking about.
We're commiserating about ice hockey. Your Canadian's already out, dog.
Oh yeah, you know. There's no hiding. It's just again. Well, you're in LA and the Kings are in the playoffs again this year. I last year was speaking at the LA Times Book Festival and got to see the Edmonton Oilers lose to the Kings in Game 3 of the playoffs, first round of the playoffs. So don't pretend like I'm going to be the only person in the area that might know about hockey. I think the only one who's going to get excited about it.
I think you just taught Bill that the Kings were in a hockey game still.
I just taught Bill that there's a team called the Kings.
Yeah, there might be an LA team. I think that's what you taught. LA Kings. That they're. It's not just the Anaheim one. It's an actual LA.
The thing is, I'm a transplant. I'm not actually from LA. Look at my skin.
Who in LA is from LA?
Fair enough. And there's 3 kinds of people in LA, okay? And one of them, you got. All right, here you go. 3 kinds of people in LA. This is my corollary of being out here a year, so I know everything. 1, you got the Angelinos. Apparently they're called Angelinos.
Yes.
Who the fuck? Anyway, they call themselves Angelinos. And from what I've seen, they're nice people. I'm sure there's assholes, but I haven't really met. If someone's an Angelino, they're typically pretty cool. That's the first kind. Second kind, this is the entire Hispanic community, which is essentially, they're native to California. Like, they are from here. And they've been incredibly cool anytime I meet them. And then you got the assholes.
Who are all from somewhere else and are going to make it big in about a month.
Yeah.
They just need the break. They've got they're on the audition. I've been on 3 calls today. Casting directors got my name. It's just a matter of time. I'm gonna make it big.
It's gonna happen.
Big. Did you want fries with that?
Yeah, that's right. I was about to do that.
And now you're lucky to get that job.
You can't get that job. I don't speak Spanish.
You can't. No,
I can't. No. You have to be able to communicate to people, and I don't have the skill set for that shit. So I'm fucked.
That's
You're
what
gonna make it big on the
Duolingo's for,
podcast.
Bill. That's what Duolingo is for.
It's true. I could just go outside and talk to people. That would help. Anyway,
Yeah,
enough about me.
that's
I don't know anything
suggestion.
about sports. I got nothing. The most I know about is Kentucky basketball, which, listen, everyone from Kentucky,
Go Western.
I hate basketball. So, yeah. Sorry, guys. Okay. Tyler, who the fuck are you?
I wish I knew. Honestly, I reinvented myself so many times that it's confusing who I am. And what's really funny is like I'll be on podcasts or talking on interviews or stuff like that, and people will be like, "Oh, you did this thing." And I'm like, "What? Oh yeah, I did that thing." Those are the people who dig deep, Ken, by the way. Those are the people who dig deep. They find out some of that
Kenny's calling you out, man.
Yeah. But like people will be like, "Oh, you were in Malaysia," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I was. It was a fun time." And Miri Sarawak is where I want to retire. But my wife will be listening to me rattling off all this stuff, and she's like, it sounds like you make it all up, right? I'm like, yeah. But the problem is, I've been a working actor since I was 6 years old.
Oh shit.
And so when you've been doing a thing since you were 6 and it's just a hobby thing for a long while, but I've also had opportunities to I came from a very entrepreneurial family. My father was a teacher, but he was also a restaurateur. When he passed away, the next major partner that my mom had in her life, long-term boyfriend for a long while, was a musician and a piano tuner and self-employed for everything. And so that was a norm for me. And my big brother from the Big Brothers program, so not biological, but Big Brothers Big Sisters, was a tour guide and an author, and an incredible human being. He was amazing. So I got to go down to Mexico when I was 14, 15, and 16 and tour guide in Puerto Vallarta and Mazatlan. In fact, awesome. I made so many connections while I was in Puerto Vallarta that when my wife and I got engaged, I actually knew the tour company. I knew the guide, and I went to him and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing, Juan Carlo? I haven't seen you in a while, and I'm gonna get engaged. Can we do something special?" And he actually ran a videography crew for me and her so that we could capture the thing. I got it all done on the sly. I was so proud of myself. And it's a good thing too, because the day was a blur. Neither one of us actually remembers the proposal. I have to go back and watch the video. It's like instant replay. And this is where Tyler takes a knee, and there's the ring. Yeah, it was wild. So
wild.
To answer your question, which I didn't, no. I am a man of many hats, many talents, jack of all trade, master of none. Large IMDb page.
Tell me about the acting thing.
Would you want to know about the acting thing?
I hate acting.
It's so boring. Nobody likes the acting thing, Bill. What would you like to know? Because I could spin yarns for years. So let's get pointed. Let's get specific.
What are you doing right now?
Right now, I am a consultant and speaker who occasionally goes to auditions when my agent tells me to.
Yeah.
It's not a full-time gig anymore, but I still get to do fun stuff. As Ken had pointed out, I filmed Fargo last year.
This is the series?
I filmed, the series. So I was in season 5, I think episode 7. It's the messed up episode. That's what the great thing is I knew that I was on it and I couldn't talk about it for a long while. And then I knew the episode was coming up. And then the morning that it came out and I was finally able to talk about it, all of social media was like, "What is with Fargo? Did you see the episode last night? Fargo was weird. They had puppets. What's with the marionettes?" So I'm in the episode with the marionettes that are used as a way to very cleverly discuss domestic violence in a way that is not... A lot of TV right now is making it just icky. They did it really, really clever, but a lot of people were put off by it, and that happens to be the episode that I'm in.
Well, I haven't seen I have not seen the new or the Fargo the series. I guess it's not new.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that episode where it's because she makes a puppet to she's got to make a puppet because like in her hallucination or whatever. I don't want to give too much away.
It's part of her therapy. She's working through.
But it's part of her therapy that she's got. Those puppets are cool. I mean,
yeah, they were.
What do you play? What do you play in the episode?
Daryl, the Kia car salesman. And,
oh, nice.
Yeah,
because the husband was the car salesperson.
Yeah. Juno Temple's husband owns a car dealership, and he's distracted. And I'm trying to broker a sale, and he's giving me really bad direction. It was a really, really fun scene to play. I finally got to meet my distant cousin. We are not directly related, but we are related. Dave Foley of News Radio and Kids in the Hall fame.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
And A Bug's Life. Let's not forget A Bug's Life. He was the voice of Flick and awesome at it. But I'd never actually got to meet him. And then we were on set together. He was actually sitting in my chair because it said Foley. It was one of the few times where I actually got to have a nameplate on the back of my chair. And I had my jacket over it, and everybody has the same puffy jacket. So all he could see was the Foley part of it, and he sat in it. And then I came after filming my scene because we were on two separate parts of the sound studio. His setup was over at another place, and I came and I'm kind of like, yeah. He's like, oh, sorry, I thought it was mine. I'm like, oh, it's okay. You can have it, Dave. And then we had a little bit of a chit chat. So that was kind of cool because it's one of the things that I've wanted to do for a long while, and now I finally got to meet him.
He was on SCTV? Was that a Second City thing, or am I just making that all up?
No, he wasn't on SCTV. He was on Kids in the Hall, which is a Lorne Michaels production. Yeah. So Lorne Michaels
wasn't
Saturday Night Live.
It wasn't Second City.
It wasn't Second City. No, he wasn't on SCTV. SCTV was. There's a lot of guys on SCTV. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Ed Grimley. Who plays Ed Grimley? Why can't I think of his name right now? Martin Short. Martin Short was SCTV.
Holy shit.
Was Catherine O'Hara on SCTV? I can't remember. Pick a Canadian comic in the 80s. They were on SCTV.
Yeah.
And then Kids in the Hall were the five guys. Lorne Michaels produced it.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
Yeah.
We had somebody on last week that was in with the guy who did the head crushing. I can't remember his name, but he was in a film. I crush your head. I crush. With that guy, he was in a film with him, and he was like really stoked. A comedian who I missed his show, even though he had a show in Bowling Green when I was in town, and I went out and I didn't know about it, but it's because I didn't do the research beforehand.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about how to sell a book, because I think that's important. How do you sell a book?
Well, how do you sell a book, or how do you sell a book successfully? Because the two are totally different. I can sell a book right now by just giving it to you and asking for $17.95. I can be like, here's my book, take it. But if you want to sell them in bulk, there's a few things that I have found that worked really, really, really well. The first was to get hooked up with like a large event producers and go speak on stage. I never sold more books than when I was speaking with Power of Success. And they were a great organization to be involved and associated with. And I would go up on stage and speak for 20 to 25 minutes and then tell everybody if they wanted to get a copy of my book that we wouldn't charge them $17.95. They could get it for $10 at the back of the room, and I'd even sign the thing for them. And you say that to a crowd of 6,000 people, you're probably going to sell 600 to 1,000, sometimes 1,500 books. Pretty cool. That was honestly the quickest and easiest way for me to do it.
How'd you get involved with these large event producers?
It's through sheer luck and happenstance.
That's not a good.
Well, it's true though, because I'm constantly networking in the sphere of people and volunteering, and a group that I was involved with, Transformation Weekend. The lady who headed it had gotten herself involved with Power of Success people, and they were bringing Tony Robbins to Calgary, and they needed volunteers for the event. And so I was one of the volunteers, and they came December 20th to Calgary. So not only just before Christmas, but in the dead of winter, like right after the winter solstice. Because probably because that was when Tony was available, because he does like right afterwards he'd be getting ready to, or probably just before, he'd be doing like his Date with Destiny stuff down in Florida. And he's a busy man, and it was probably literally the only time on his calendar that they could grab him.
Tony Robbins is the dude with the epic chin, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like this dude has like
muscles.
He's like cut, like
muscles. He's muscles on top of muscles. Is that kind of his thing?
Well, he's
like,
not really muscles on top of muscles, but he legitimately has gigantism. He had something on, it was the pituitary gland, and so he's literally the giant of self-development. Like he's big. I don't know exactly. I think 6'8". I think 6'8".
Damn.
But like
is he that tall? I didn't realize. He didn't.
Oh yeah, I'll send you guys a picture when of me and him standing together.
You met him and talked to him. Now, did you shake his hand?
Oh yeah. I mean,
gonna come and
he
kick
shook
my
hand, not the other way around. His mitt, like his hand. If I was to do this to Tony's hand, it'd be like twice the size. Like just massive.
I had no idea. In all the pictures, he just looks like a business guy.
And
he is a businessman. He's a very successful business guy. But
so
if you see a picture of him with somebody, like see if you can get a picture of him and Arnold Schwarzenegger together.
Oh, okay.
Because
I'll do.
You know, I've met Arnold. I've got a picture with Arnold too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And but like he's, you know, Arnold's like the governor is like 5'9", 5'8", 5'9", somewhere around there. Not much taller than I am.
I think, but I don't know.
I've met Danny DeVito a number of times. I worked with him kind of once.
Yeah, not a tall man.
Very not tall comparatively to any of that. I don't know anything about Transformation Weekend. That seems like a religious.
Would. So no, Transformation Weekend was a local thing. Transformation Weekend was a local thing here. It and you'd probably be at a .com, and I'm Canadian. Got to go .ca.
Yeah. Oh, CA. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
If you're like transformationweekend.ca, it's not. It's a you know.
It's not a religious conference.
No.
Okay, so I just went to the wrong.
You just went to the wrong one. She it was self-development stuff, but her program was really, really cool. But it was basically,
and her name is Erin Sky Kelly. Okay,
yeah,
I'm just making sure.
And she her program was basically Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny, pared down to the essentials, like the stuff that you needed to know. Tony's program is great, but it's 6 days long, and for the first half of the day, a lot of it is sales pitch and other speakers. And so Erin took all of the Tony stuff and the stuff that really, you know, was impactful for her, and then pared it down to make it her own program. And it was actually a really, really good program. So I got involved with that, doing her sound and helping out with lighting and stuff like that, doing a little bit of speaking and some coaching for her. And these are probably pretty well attended. Tony he's a big name. I know he was involved in some scandals a while back. I mean, I don't know what became of it, but who's to say? We would have continued to hear about it.
He crushed the enemies and saw them driven before them.
You know, and people definitely were looking to, like, he was not into the Me Too
thing
for a while, and I think he was kind of anti-COVID a little bit. But
he had an interesting stance on it, but he always has. So the thing that you have to know, and I'm definitely not condoning or supporting.
Sure.
But the context behind it is and if you go and watch like I'm Not Your Guru, which came out before the Me Too movement, and was filmed in Florida long before, like he's always said, life happens for you, not to you. And so what he was against was the victim mentality of it, that it was perpetrated and you could never get over it. And he's like, well, but why? Why did it happen to you? And he's counseled and worked with hundreds of sexual assault survivors, to reprogram that story. I think what gets lost in that is, yeah, but hey, this thing still happened. And so I think when taken out of context and without full explanation, his reactions to a lot of those things, because it had come up in one of his conferences and they were like, well, what about this? And he was like, it's bullshit. And because that's the way that he is. And up front, you're like, whoa, hey.
It's tough to get context. I went down a rabbit hole. I was looking for some gotcha moments. The thing is I'm a journalist and I'm pretty liberal. That other guy, he's the conservative one, whatever. Anyway, I couldn't find a whole lot of context. Nothing was verifiable, or and that's the thing with sources. I do think that when you're outside of it, like he's a big enough name to where controversy can be there, and everybody just kind of makes up whatever. But I don't think that's
the
fair.
Other thing is to like having,
and this is coming from a liberal person. Like I don't think it's fair that we just make up things and say them.
Well, but here's the thing. I've been backstage with Tony. And I've also read his writer. I can't tell you what's in his writer, but I've read his witer, and he has. So
it's the list of things that you need to.
The list of things that you have that you need of a venue or of an event or of a promoter or of an entity to provide to you so that you can do the things that you do that they have hired you to do. So for like my writer, it's very small. I need my own trailer, a suit, some green M&Ms, only green M&Ms.
No, God damn it! You're stealing all my jokes.
Yeah, but who would want that? Because that means somebody's fingers has been in like on all of your M&Ms.
What is wrong with you? You order them from the store that way. You literally you go to Times Square and you say, I want the green ones. They give you the green
cocoa
ones.
butter, baby.
And if your PA has been touching my M&Ms, I'm not going on.
All right, so what's Ken hold? What is the deal with Tony Robbins? Since we're doing gotcha moments, apparently, Jesus Christ.
No, it's no gotcha. My story was that it was.
I'm not asking. I'm asking.
What can I tell you, Bill?
Continue with what you were saying. You were backstage. You were backstage with Tony Robbins.
Just that. So
looking at his writer.
When you get into that space, so Tony controls his world, right? There is not a second that he doesn't have full input on, because he really is the master of self-development. Like he's very in tuned with his world, with what he's doing, and he does his thing. But he also, because he's very internalized and he has his processes, if you're outside of that and witnessing it for the first time, seeing a 6'8" man who has to have a rebounder and needs to jump up and down, and barely has time to go to the bathroom, so he's going to have a porta potty off stage so that he can just whip off, go, and come back. And when you are that confident in yourself, modesty flies out the window. And as somebody who will change in front of people, because I've been doing it all my life in theater, I wouldn't think twice about whipping down to my skivvies and putting on a new outfit, and neither will Tony. The man sweats. Like he goes through water like it's going out of style. Like he could rehydrate the Sahara if he needed to with the amount that he sweats. And so he will just change his shirt because he needs a new shirt, and that's okay. But if you're not used to that and you're like, Tony got naked in front of me and he didn't have my consent. I could see.
Tyler, why would you talk like that if that happened? Is he just a big guy?
Tony got naked in front of me. He didn't have my consent. No, because he's not getting right. Like he's not naked, but like, you know, I know people who are that way. And you know, when time is of the, like when your itinerary is micromanaged down to 2-minute intervals, and you have a private jet that's waiting on the tarmac and wheels are up at 18:24.
No one understands what time it is, so you have to be quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't have a shower on the jet, so you have the shower that's in the arena, and you've got the change room. So you're going to go down, you're going to shower, and you're getting ready for your shower. I could see where if somebody isn't prepped to that, they're like, it was an affront, and I wasn't asked. And there was a naked man coming towards me, and you're like, well, he was half naked, and
because
it had nothing to do with you.
Ken does this. Ken gets naked, and there is no jet. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I'm the same way. You're lucky that this is just you know, a head and shoulder shot, because I am free balling down below.
I was AD on this film where one of the actresses took her clothes off in front of the director, doing a quick change, and then somebody watched it from afar and like complained. And the way they did it, I was this close to shutting down production, but you know, once I heard from the person that was changing and the different things, it's really easy to get different stories. Get different stories. Like if you don't really know and you're not really involved and you see something from afar, it's hard to say. That's kind of was my point, is that it's hard to say. So, you know, I don't know.
Well, and having had that conversation, Tony's people are now going to reach out to me with a cease and desist. So,
well, I mean, I think my point is that there's nothing to it.
No. Yeah. If there was smoke, there would have been fire.
Yeah, and that's 5 years ago. So it's not like this is a new. So what broke to me is that he's got a shower and he's got you know, to change clothes. That's all news to me. That's me.
He may have a shower. So you got to remember, when Tony does these things, he's doing them in big arenas.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so he's at Staples Center or Crypto.com Center. Who calls a building Crypto.com?
Sure.
Like that. I understand that they paid for the naming rights. That's not fair. You can't call something that. That's not. It's Staples Center.
My room is the crypt anyway.
But you know, he's selling out large arenas, and so a lot of times where his green room is the change room. It's like the players' change room.
Can I play devil's advocate? I mean, I honestly, I know very little about Tony Robbins. He seems like a fine guy, and you vouch for him, and I like you, so whatever.
I'm not vouching for Tony.
Here's what I'm saying. We're making apologetics for him. What I'm getting at is this, and here's a little bit of devil's advocate, perhaps, and with the Me Too movement. So sometimes the truth, like literally what happened, perhaps in this sexual harassment and abuse allegations that just appears on Google, the truth of that, to a degree, really matters, right? What happened? Why? What was the context? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a bigger issue, right? Because Tony Robbins is enormous, both figuratively, literally. What happens with him sort of avalanches with other people, as in maybe this issue has nothing to do with Tony Robbins, actually.
Yeah.
Am I being too cryptic here, or are you guys picking up what I'm laying down?
No, it's yes, you're 1,000% correct. Whether that is the implications it has for other people within the sphere of that, or whether it is the implications of the people within Tony's sphere, who can be impacted by allegations like this. Yes.
So who gives a shit about Tony? You, however, go on your own talks and whatnot.
And he's naked. I think you're naked on most of your talks.
So how have you learned from this? How have you learned from it? Like, what do you do? Hey, Tyler, who are you?
Hey, Tyler, who are you? Well, for the book, one of the things that I learned was that somebody's always watching, and so you just kind of really have to be aware of what your actions are, and that what is normal to you is abnormal to somebody else, and vice versa. And that I think before we start judging, we need to ask a few questions. As to the speaking naked, I only do it for charity, but I have done it. I cannot lie. It has been done, and I will do it anytime anybody wants, but it has to be for charity. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
I would imagine you're pretty fit, and so there's no embarrassment there. You're a hockey player, Go ahead.
I was pretty fit. I am now a 44-year-old father, soon to be 45. And I've got the sexy dad bod going now.
What can you show your book really quick?
Yeah, let's see it.
Hey, you are naked. The power to be.
Is that you?
Wouldn't it be great if it was? No, that's a stock image that I bought off of Jeff Bezos' site, and because of that image, Jeff Bezos won't let me advertise my book on his site.
Wait, really?
Subsequently, I won't say what site Jeff Bezos owns because, if he's going to boycott me, I'm going to boycott him.
Fucking Jeff Bezos.
Yeah,
right? Bezos.
My
He's
bad.
going to space in a phallic-shaped rocket, and he won't let me put this on because it shows the breasts and/or buttocks in a sexually suggestive manner. How? Tell me how.
Well, humans are sexy.
I would agree.
So tell us about your
Well, the book is actually a compilation of all of my training programs. We took all the video from my training programs and grabbed the audio off of it, transcribed the audio, and then compiled it into the book. So the nice thing about the book and the detriment to the book is that it is very literally my voice. When you read it, you are getting me unfiltered. Despite my ghostwriter's best efforts to make it not, because we transcribed just me talking to people, and although most of my seminars cover the same material, I don't always do it in the same way or in the same order. I know the journey that I'm taking you on. We will get from A to B, but where I interject some of the anecdotes and the different training methodologies and some of the exercises will come differently. And every once in a while, I'll have a genius moment in a flash, and I'll say something completely different that I then work into future training programs. And so my poor writers, Brian and Alyssa, had to go through hundreds of hours of audio transcribing this stuff and then putting it into a cohesive order, and they did not get paid enough. I'm putting it out, public record. They did not get paid enough for the work that they did, even with the little bit of residuals that they still make off of the book.
I mean, one, they make residuals, which is pretty sweet. Two, they got paid, which is pretty sweet. Ken goes through hundreds of hours of our podcast, and that motherfucker doesn't get paid at all. Hi, Ken.
That's not true. You got Patreon supporters.
That's right.
Yeah, but
I don't.
I don't get
yet to get paid yet.
If anything, we pay each other occasionally. Like, he paid me to direct a thing for him. I paid him to act in a thing for me.
Yeah.
I got some work for him that I'm gonna try and pay for him to do. I'm sure he's figuring, and so it's back and forth.
Ecstatic.
By the way, how to sell books, doing stuff in kind is a great way to figure it out. Affiliates.
Yeah.
I sold and Power of Success was basically one big affiliate, because I would go onto their stage, I would sell the books, they would take a cut, and then I would get to promote my program, and they would take a cut. But so they were my biggest affiliate.
Will you give us like a quick, synopsis of maybe your program, some or at least maybe some good advice to like
Give us the pitch.
some starving artists?
So the program is designed for people who have basically either been told that they need to be public speaking or want to public speak but are terrified to do it. Occasionally we get a couple of people who like are weird the way that I am, and they're like, no, I really want to public speak, I just don't know how. But they tend to not do as well in the course because they've already got an idea of what they want to do, and the way that I help is slightly different. But for the people who are struggling with public speaking and have either been told that they need to do it for a leadership position or they need to do it because usually it's some kind of a career thing where they've been promoted into a leadership position, or they're starting a business, or they're in business and the business is doing okay but would do significantly better if they could take the stage. That's usually the one segment. And then the other segment is the people who just have this yearning to tell their story, but don't know how. And the idea of speaking in front of strangers terrifies them. So what we do is, over the course of 2.5 days, break down the myth around public speaking. First of all, the biggest one is that this myth that people are afraid of public speaking. Most people aren't actually afraid of public speaking. What they're afraid of is public judgment. And so breaking down the difference between the two and why it is, and having people feel comfortable, and then really the power of public speaking comes when you can speak your own truth. That's why the book is called The Power to Speak Naked. We want you to be able to speak the raw, naked truth. Strip yourself down to the core, be honest with yourself. So you have to get people to be honest with themselves first, and where they are at, who they are, and what their stories are. I have a really fun exercise where very rapidly we break down people's life into their key core stories, and we usually pull out 5 key pivotal moments in their life, and then they do an exploration of what those moments mean to them, why they were pivotal in their life, what lessons they learned, what lessons they needed to learn, where they are now, and then how to frame those stories to then speak to their audience. Because one of the great speakers that I've had the privilege of working with, Les Brown, says it way better than me. You never tell a story without a point, and you never make a point without a story. And so we have these exercises so that people can then find the reason and the rationale behind their stories and what points they can make with them, points being multiple, depending on what point they need to make and what audience they're speaking to, how to frame those stories. And then we basically empower people to go forward and use these tools to do better within their career, or find a new career trajectory or a new career path if they want to become a speaker. And then for if they want to move on in the programming, we have a 5-day workshop where we will, video them, help them really craft a signature speech or a TED Talk, whatever they want to, whatever their kind of pursuit is. And then show them how to market it, put together their one sheet, put together a sizzle reel, find speaker bureaus. What's a sizzle reel? Ask the question, I'll tell you.
No, I know. Continue.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. That's basically it. We put them together, we give them the whole package, and then a lot of those people have the opportunity to come on and speak on stage with me.
No, that's nice.
At one of our future events.
3 questions. Ken, just one second.
You go.
Because I want to hit that. I want to hit the chat really fast. The chat asked, I'd like to know Tyler Foley's views on AI and how it may or may not affect him. Are you a fan? So you don't have to answer that right now, but that's something we should answer.
Well, no, let's jump into it. So I have mixed feelings on AI. As a professional actor and a union member of both ACTRA, UBCP, AFTRA, and SAG, I was of the minority who was irritated that we were striking over AI. I think the writers had a very good reason to. And I know that because I use AI for a lot of my scripting, for my social media content, my social media posts. The bot that I use actually analyzed all 144 pages of this book.
Thanks.
I think it's 144.
Yeah. Is that a trade book, U.S. trade, or is it Canadian trade?
No, U.S. I have a U.S. publisher, Morgan James. 134 pages of this book, and it can duplicate my voice eerily well. Like, eerily well. And so from the writer's perspective, I think they need protection against that, because you still need human. And this is why I'm on the side of AI. You always need human intervention. So as scary as it can replicate my voice, it replicates my voice and then says some gibberish junk. And so then I have to go and clean it up. But it is unbelievably helpful for me to be able to spit out content, or even just rephrase stuff. Like, I get stuck with writer's block and I'm like, okay, there's this thing that I want to say and it's kind of like this, but this isn't it. And then it makes me sound like a genius and gets me more clients. So that's always fun. On the flip side of it, I can see where, a professional writer is going. I can do that without having, like, that is my job. And now the job is being replaced. So having protections there. But I think, and I think people got creeped out seeing Carrie Fisher come back to life, and
Mary Poppins
and Grandma Tarkin.
Yeah,
people believe that. Fuck, I remember. Go on. Sorry.
Well, but there's that uncanny valley with it. You know that it's fake, and when people are like, and here's the big thing. As a working actor, I know that the majority of people are in the actors union are not full-time actors. We're not the leads. We're not there. Well, a lot of us are doing background work. And when they were like, they're just going to scan my face and use me for background. I'm like, they already do. Talking about NHL 2004, I know half of the crowd because they worked for EA Sports. They were the programmers.
Yeah. And
they worked in Burnaby, and I would have coffee with them. So like, this is not a new thing. We've been using digital crowds for. There was a time when they would take your picture and make a cardboard cutout and put it in. That was done back in the 50s. That was done in the when I was filming The Miracle, we had cardboard cutouts, and they were like 20 different PAs. This notion that they were going to scan you and you were never going to get you're as an extra, you're already not paid very well, and you're not getting residuals anyway. So this notion that it was somehow going to take away your work, they can't replicate the behind the people. That's never going to be digital. AI is not going to do that. So I have mixed thoughts on AI. I can see where it can be a detriment, and I can see where if there aren't controls over it, it can get overused. But at the same time, as an experience and as a tool, particularly as a filmmaker, having been on both sides of the camera, I think it is unbelievably helpful. I just think it needs to be regulated a little bit better.
Sure, absolutely. Seen Tyler, Twyler.
Yeah. And Ken is actually an AI bot right now. Okay, he's not a real person.
No, I'm fake. And see, that's the other thing too. One of my web developers were trying to put together the audio version for the book, and she was like, "Oh, well, I'll get the bot to do it." And she took a series of the podcast recordings that I had done, programmed the AI voice, and then had it dictate, because it's all written. There's a typed words, and she did it, and it was close. It was close. I almost signed off on it. But it did those things, right? Ken, the scene, there was some weird, like it would pronounce things weird, or it would glitch weird, and I'm like, we can't do that. And if I tried to like do an ADR session over top of it, you can't replicate the audio behind that, because you can't have that perfect audio. And that was creepy too, to hear it perfect. I was like, no, I need a little bit of room noise. Like there needs to be something in the background, or it sounds fake. So try as we did to save some time that way. It's just nothing beats the live. So
you can't match the pixels. Go ahead.
I did a voiceover for one of my friend's books. It's Saturday Shepherd and the World Beyond. If anybody cares to check out his book, it's a good book. YA novel about vampires and werewolves. Anyway, I did it for It was my first audiobook, and he came out with another one. And I was like, hey man, you know, are you thinking about me doing the voiceover for your second book? And I kind of got ghosted. And I believe the reason is because, one, this dude is extremely busy, of course. Not Tony Robbins busy, but he's very busy. But two, why are you going to pay someone? I mean, I got paid. For the first book, it was very, very, very low. But
but that jar of Planters peanuts tasted good.
It tasted amazing.
They were honey roasted,
and it was her friend,
salted, and it was the big tin.
Lots of tin. You know, we had dinner, a back rub. The second one, like if you can actually pay a voiceover artist, like I mean a minimum of $1,200 to $2,000, a minimum. And it's like, or you can just AI bot it. One of my roommates is a pretty lauded author, and she's just dropped a book. It's 127 lovers and counting, something along these lines. And she was like, oh yeah, I'd like you to do this, the audiobook. And then a couple weeks later, she's like, well, I mean, for the price. And that's my argument when it comes to AI. Like, of course, I'm an actor. I don't want to be replaced by AI. I'm an author. I don't want to be replaced by AI. At the same time, it's a tool that we can't just look over. Like, if something is that much better, well, then those jobs need to go out of the way.
But then that creates, other side to that coin, is it that much better? And so I think for somebody who doesn't have a big budget, who is just trying to get content out, pushing it out on AI is fine. But I know so again, back to my Canadianisms, there are the channels that I watch to watch hockey highlights that I'm like, yes. And then there's the ones that are just bad AI bot.
It's
and
bullshit.
It's AI with AI with AI.
It's horrible.
And so they have a really good tagline, but then the video compilation is sus, and the voiceover is
awful. It's like 10 seconds in, and you're like, I'm done. I really want to hear
exactly.
that, and I'm done.
And so my caution to your author friends who are taking that route or route, depending on which side of the border you would like to pronounce it, that is a dangerous and slippery slope, because yes, you're getting your content out there cheaply, but if you're not willing to invest in your content, why should somebody buy it from you? And that has always been my argument. It's the same reason why Christopher Nolan is an incredible filmmaker and why his movies make billions of dollars. And as much as James Cameron is reliant on technology, he's still a practical filmmaker. He uses technology to augment his storytelling. He doesn't make the technology the story. And he has always grounded himself that way. Christopher Nolan is going to be practical if he can. And it's better. It's quantifiably better. And so when I listened to the voiceover, I went, wow, that's creepishly good. But it's still creepy. And I'm not going to cheap out on my consumer of my content, because I'm not going to, if I wouldn't listen to it, I'm not going to make somebody else listen to it. If I'm not going to read it, I'm not going to make somebody else read it. I've already used enough shortcuts with the book. I mean, hell, I didn't write the thing. I spoke the thing and had other people compile it. So, you know, I've done my shortcuts. I'm not going to shortchange. And I think that's the difference. So people need to be really, really conscious of what they're putting out in the world. Because if you're going to put out a crappy product, you aren't going to get the returns that you're hoping for.
What's a one?
Well, I like the cover. I think you should have picked a guy with not so hairy legs. I mean, I have hairy legs, but
They are remarkably hairy legs. I know. So I wanted to do my own cover, and I wouldn't have been quite as hairy, but we couldn't coordinate the shoot in time. To answer your question,
So go ahead.
Bill,
Go ahead.
the one
better.
sheet is basically a speaker's version of a biography, or of like the on an author on the paper jacket when you have it on the inside. Yeah. So a one sheet is kind of like
it's like a bio.
Paper sizzle reel. Yeah, it's a little bit more than a bio, but it's basically the bio. It's your headshot, some of your credentials, a couple of either quotes or validation, right? Some kind of testimonial, and then where maybe proof of concept, like where have you spoken, what are some of the clients that you've had with it. And it's kind of like a little flyer, and it's one page, so it's your one sheet, and it's just basically promo for a speaker to hand out to organizers so that they know what to expect. It's basically part of the promotional material.
It's like a press package type thing, is what it sounds.
It's kind of like, it's a single page press kit.
Ken, what
you need one for your book. I was going to say, you need one for your book. Bill wrote a book. It's called DreadLore. It's a live action it's a role-playing game. We advertise it every week on this show, and this is that moment.
Tyler, are you into tabletop role-playing games? Or have you played like D&D or any of that kind of stuff?
So no, I grew up in theater and went to a fine arts high school. So I had a lot of influence around D&D. In fact, a good friend of mine, Kyle Gould, still runs. He actually has a podcast.
That name is very familiar.
Because you probably listen to his podcast, because he's like got one of the #1 ranked podcasts for Dungeons and Dragons, and he like goes on quests. And he live casts what they're doing with the quest and how the rolls go. And I've watched it. I love it, but I've never played. Like the guys used to get together because we'd be backstage, and when you were building the set, there was the stage was still empty. We had all of this wood and places around. So they'd build like massive, they'd have big, huge Warhammer battles. And then what do we play? Blood Bowl?
Blood Bowl, that's the thing.
Yeah, Blood Bowl. I'd play Blood Bowl. So like, I'm not, but like for me, like if I was to play a game, like if you were like, hey, let's sit down, let's play a board game, I'd play either Risk or Chess. Those have been
my Axis and Allies,
or Axis and Allies. So I don't like Axis and Allies so much, because if you get Japan, you never win.
That's not true.
It's entirely true. Don't even.
It's not true. it depends on what game you're playing.
This is how I know you are a true gaming geek, because I know you're gonna be like, I remember back in 2016, I played a game and I was down Japan. I was able to form an ally with the Germans, and then we took over. I won with Japan. This one time,
Axis
2016.
Axis always wins. If you know how to play the game, Axis always wins, and that's the problem with the game.
So I'm just stupid.
I hate
no brain strategy.
I can't stand that game. It's like Axis and Allies and Twilight Imperium can go suck my dick. Anyway,
can we go back to the Dungeons and Dragons bit? And like, I got a question about DreadLore, role-playing games in general. Do you think that stuff helps with public speaking, because you're in a group of people, and do you think it kind of could help?
Yes, but not for what you were alluding to. I don't think it's because you're in a group of people. I think it's because it allows people to take on a persona and find an alternate voice. And I think a lot of times that is a step to finding self-confidence. Right? You see these people and they discover a new part of themselves, and then all of a sudden they have a confidence that they didn't have before. And I think that is one, it's the same reason why I get a lot of my attendees to do theater sports, because it gives you permission to be silly, and it gives you permission to stop censoring yourself. You get to say things because it's not you, it's your character that's saying it.
Right.
My level 12 paladin has made this decision. And so I naturally think that anytime you can adopt a personality or explore something without consequence, or within a structure of rules that creates a safe place to play, then you're naturally going to find a new sense of yourself. And I think that is a key component to becoming an effective public speaker. So yes, I do think it helps, but not in the way that you're alluding.
Okay. But it does. Do you think, and can I say this? Do you think it makes people more naked or less naked? Because I want to know where the naked is. Like if you're speaking naked, that means you're comfortable within your own skin. Is that correct?
Yes. So I think it depends. I think it depends if they need to maintain a character, then they're less naked.
Okay.
Because they have to have a persona. It's like Andrew Dice Clay was not the Dice Man in real life.
Right.
But at the height of his career, he was the Dice Man. He was the D, right? And that was not the real Andrew Dice Clay, but that was the character that he had to play. And it made him wildly popular for a while, but it wasn't him. And subsequently, it wasn't sustainable. And if you can't sustain it, you can't continue to do it. So it's one thing to discover confidence inside of a character, but then you have to be able to translate that to the real you and know that you are the character, that you didn't actually need the mask. You didn't need the disguise. You were the person pulling the strings the whole time. And when you can make that switch, then you can strip it down, and then you can become a more naked speaker.
Yeah, I'm a very clothed speaker. Like I'm not an actor. I'm a behind the camera person. You put me in front of a crowd, like I feel like I'm fine on the podcast, but you put me in front of a crowd, and I'm just like I get the shakes. I don't want to act in theater. I don't have a drive for that. That guy. Actor, loves being in front of a crowd, comfortable with memorizing lines and stuff like that. Are there characteristics that you could point out between the two of us? Or Bill, I'll open this question to you. Like what's the difference, do you think?
Well, I can tell you right now that whether you feel that you're an introvert or an extrovert, I'm an introvert. I just happen to have a very extroverted job, many extroverted jobs. But I am an introvert. I don't feel comfortable in social settings, social interaction, don't really feel comfortable in crowds. One of the things that I like the most about public speaking is that it is the largest expression of my introverted nature, because it's me alone on a stage, and when the stage is really well lit, I can't see the crowd. Beautiful.
So you're alone.
So I'm alone, but with my thought, literally alone with my thoughts. And then, but there's something unique about a crowd, and Bill may understand what I'm talking about. There's an actual radiance and a warmth that you can feel from them, and there's nothing beats a live crowd. I hated when I transitioned from theater to film and television, because I didn't get the instant response to know if I did a good job. I'd get a director who'd say, "Cut, good job. Yeah, no, check the gate. We'll print that." And you're like, "But how did I do?" "Oh yeah, no, you're fine. Good." Yeah. So when we
they don't want to talk to you.
Up for the new
no, I mean,
you're like,
and I know exactly. Yeah, no, I as a director, as a filmmaker, I'm not going to give you anything more if I don't have. Yeah, I got it. Let's move on.
I know. And I've started to learn that, but it was really jarring for me at like 16, 17, because I'd been on stage since I was 6, and I had instant feedback the whole time. Mm-hmm. And so to get to the point where I didn't have that anymore was a little disassociating. And then, but from a public speaking standpoint, you had said, because Bill can memorize a thing, maybe he'd be better at it. And I would argue that no, because he's probably going to try and rely on a memorized script. And it's one of the worst things you can do in public speaking. You need to have a roadmap. But if you try to memorize a script, you are going to lose your audience, because again, it's that AI falsehood. You have prepared this thing in your head that you thought was so great, And then you memorize this thing in your brain that you think is so great, and then you deliver it, but it has no emotion behind it, even if you are emoting, because you haven't connected with your audience. What I do is I memorize a roadmap. So I know that I need to get from LA to Albuquerque. But just like, the rabbit, why can't I think of, because I want to say Roger Rabbit, that's not him. Bugs Bunny, when he's tunneling through, right? I must have taken a wrong turn at Albuquerque. Well, it's because you need the ability to detour and weave, right? I try to explain it to people. Saying that you're going to memorize a script is like saying that I'm going to take my audience from LAX to Albuquerque, and we're going to be on Delta flight 3357, and it's going to depart at 10 a.m. If you miss that flight, you never get to your destination. But if I know that I just got to get this group from LA to Albuquerque, well, now I have flexibility. Do we take a plane, right? If that's you have a 90-second elevator pitch, we're on the Concorde, baby, and we're going Mach 2. But if you are given a 2-day seminar, you don't want to take the Mach 2. You probably want to take a meandering route using trail donkeys, right? And stops along the way.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, right.
There are so many options that become available to you. But if you lock yourself into a script, you're stuck on flight 3357, and you can't get off of it. And that's the problem.
Are you PowerPoints or no PowerPoints?
As a purist, I am no PowerPoint.
Yeah, PowerPoint blows.
But there's always exceptions. Like I literally did a presentation today that was 90% visual up on a board. The difference was it was live interactive buttons where people could enter in both preset answers and then their own free flow answers, and we mixed them in between so that they had the learning material was better digested that way. People learned from their mistakes, and and there was gamification with it too, so there was a reason to engage and keep with it. But when you're going to rely on technology, you have to know that technology inside and out and know that it will work to the way that you want it to all the time. It needs to be tested, and the amount of work that goes into making that happen, slim to none. I've only seen 1 or 2 presenters who use a slide, and it's not even PowerPoint, it's slide deck. Slide decks well. One of them is Tony, but he has people who know all of his stories and they're all preloaded. So when Tony starts talking about this, we load slide deck this. And then if he goes on a tangent, we just don't put it up on the screen. If he supports that, then we do. And he's worked with those people for years. The other person who I've seen do it really, really, really well is Phil Town. Phil Town talks about stock investing, and he runs a program called Rule 1. He's got his slide. He runs his own slide deck. It's very complicated, but he knows how to thumb through it. So he will skip like 30 slides. He'll be like, and so when I do this thing, and here you can see where we do. He knows his slide deck. He's been working with it for 20, 25 years. It hasn't changed. His pitch hasn't changed. Ironically, I've seen him do the thing like 20, 30 times. And it's same as me. It's always this, he always takes you on the same journey, but I've never seen him give the same presentation twice. But he's always used the same slide deck. And that's a true presenter, because he's not reliant on what's popping up back here. He's reliant on telling the story and connecting with the audience. He knows what's here so that he can emphasize his points while he's going along. So I think it has value for the people who use it correctly. 99.9999% of people do not use a slide deck or PowerPoint correctly, and subsequently it's a detriment to their presentation as opposed to an enhancement.
Would you go on?
Okay. I was just gonna one last to wrap up this, because it's super on topic. Our Monday night show, when we do the Red Writ, or Into Space, it's a live role-playing game. I don't know what's going to happen. So I just have thousands of images that I pull up as we go in this immersive ability. So I'm a big fan of having that. I feel like I've talked too much, and I think we've got just a few minutes left. So
I got a bunch of questions. I'm gonna keep you here the whole time.
Go.
Who's
Rapid
your mentor?
fire. We got 5 minutes.
Who's your mentor?
Oh, I've had many. I've had so many mentors through the year that I couldn't even begin to name them all. From Jim
How about
Sempton,
currently?
Aaron Weeb. Currently, well, I actually literally just lost him. Salim Koja, who ran the Power of Success, was a close friend and a mentor, and unfortunately he passed away just a little over a year ago. So I'm currently mentorless, sort of. I still have a lot of people that I work closely with. So like Bob Corbett has always and will forever be a mentor of mine. He's like kind of my, my father figure who I reach out to if I ever need advice. My Uncle Brian is another man who I regardless of what the situation is, they always seem to have an answer.
What's the difference between a mentor and a teacher?
Oh, a large difference. A teacher is somebody who tells you this is the knowledge and this is how we're going to do it. They usually have like a curriculum or a way. A mentor is somebody who is there to give you the nudge. Sometimes you need a positive nudge or encouragement. You're doing the right thing. You're going the right way. Sometimes you need a knockoff course or a course adjustment because you're headed over the waterfall, my friend. You want to get to shore. I think, and it's the same with a coach, right? What's the difference between a mentor and a coach?
Sure.
Mentor is somebody who's probably there volunteering their time and is invested in you because they want to see the best of you just because, versus a coach who wants the best out of you because you're paying them for performance.
Yeah. All of these questions that I'm going to take up more of your 5 minutes than you've asked are about you.
Okay, so, excellent.
I fear I'm going to get a stock answer.
Oh, no, never.
Why?
Just
why are you doing this?
Because I don't know how to do anything else. Honestly, I've tried so many. In Wayne's World, when he walks out of his house in Aurora, Illinois, he says, "Let me put it to you this way. I have an extensive collection of hairnets and name tags. Right? I've done so many jobs in my life, and so many of them have been fun, and so many of them have been terrible. And I've had a few that just sucked my will to live. This is the only thing. I am not a morning person. No. I hate it. But if you tell me that I have to be on set at 4 a.m., or you tell me that I have to give a presentation and it's in Africa, and so because of the time zone difference, I have to get up at 1 or 2 a.m. and present until 4, I wouldn't even blink. And I'm jazzed for it, and I'm awake, I'm alert, and I'm ready to go. And then when it's done, I'm like, oh, I'm tired, and I go back to bed. But I need naps after it, but nothing engages me. Like even just thinking about it right now, like you can see, I get animated. Nothing gives me the energy to do it. There's something about seeing somebody else get it. Hearing some of the clients that I've worked with, some of the stories that they've had after they've left some of my workshops or have worked with me one-on-one, it's awe-inspiring. Because I'm not changing their life. I'm giving them a tool. They're great. I'm giving them a tool that's helping them along their path. To see them use that tool successfully, though, is just I just don't know what other reward you can have. So and money ain't bad either.
How'd you find it?
I stumbled into it. Honestly, I've had, again, mentors and Tony's right. The world happens for you, not to you. And, from my dad passing away at a young age. Subsequently, my mom needed a thing for me to do just because she was a single mom and she worked 18 hours a day and she needed something that took up my time. Well, theater takes up a big chunk of time and somebody else babysits your kid and they're out of the way. And then they learn stuff. So it's nice, right? So, from that and being able to learn presentation skills just through osmosis, I had a medical incident when I was 17 that paralyzed the left side of my body for almost a year. Having to overcome that and get over that and know that performance was a thing that I wanted to do. Going to school, like I got tired of acting at 25. I retired. I went back to school. I started my own business. I lost my business partner. And having all of that taken away, and then I had a friend reach out to me and throw me a lifeline and brought me on as a safety manager for his company, and discovering this new world of safety, and then through safety discovering that I'm a really good trainer, which is ironic because my dad was one of the most respected teachers in his school before he passed away, so much that there's still the Clayton Foley Memorial Scholarship for it. I couldn't even begin to tell you, not even because I'm in a time crunch, but because I would take me a year to go through all the things that went into me being here. I'm just lucky.
I think you gave me what I wanted. How do we
answer?
How does one book Tyler Foley?
Well, they go into the show notes of Geeky Gamer Podcast, and before they go and click on my link, they click on your link and leave you a 5-star review and say how awesome Bill and Ken are. And then when they're done doing that, then they click on my link and go, hey, SeanTylerFoley.com. This seems like a real good place to reach out to Tyler and get him into my company or wherever else they need me to speak and tap down. Because I will wear tap shoes.
Where can people see you next?
Oh, that's a good question. In theaters and around May, but I can't tell you why until May. Maybe June, possibly June. Follow my IMDb.
All right.
A lot of my speaking engagements are for private corporations, so they can't see me, and all of my public ones were with Power of Success, and I haven't gotten a new promoter yet. I think my next public engagement that I actually have scheduled is in July on a virtual event. Used to be called Podfest, but they've rebranded it. So, but you guys would know it's with Alex Sanfilippo, who runs Podmatch. He does a quarterly event, and I am the opening speaker for that on the guesting side. I may
jump on that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty new to Podmatch. Podmatch.com is where we found each other. Sparks flew.
Yes.
Okay, and how do we get your book?
Oh, well, if you're wondering how to buy it, the answer is in bulk. But if you're wondering where to order it, the best place to go actually is bookshop.org. And if you go to bookshop.org, and I will send over the link for that because I'm betting that isn't something that Ken has. But if you go to bookshop.org, it's great because my book normally retails for $17.95, but on bookshop.org, it's like $16.50, $16.75, somewhere around there. So you save a little bit of money. But not only do you save money, bookshop.org donates a portion of the sales. It takes a portion of its sales and puts it into a fund that local bookstore owners, mom and pop shops, can apply to for aid and assistance. And so far, they've raised over $30 million to give back to local book retailers. And when you buy the book for $16.95, you're not buying it from Jeff Bezos' site or one of the large conglomerates. You're actually buying it from your local bookstore. But it's an online shopping experience, very similar to what Jeff Bezos set up 20 years ago to buy books. But it connects you directly with your local book retailer, or they get credit for the sale anyway. So your mom and pop shop down the block gets the credit for the sale. They make the money. You get the book for a cheaper price, and then all bookstores across North America can tap into this fund if they're struggling. So for 1,000 different reasons, please go get the book, bookshop.org. If you're a traditionalist and you want to go and buy it, it's in stores everywhere. So just go down to your local book retailer. Please don't go to Barnes & Noble, although you can get it there, or one of the big retailers. Go to your local books retailer and ask them to order it in if they don't already have a copy, and you can get it that way. But bookshop.org, fastest way.
And what's it called again?
Bookshop.org. The Power
book.
to Speak Naked.
No, your book. Oh, The Power to
The
Speak Naked.
Power to Speak Naked. Ready? One more plug. Let's flash it in front of the screen.
There it is.
Everybody.
Oh,
The
I have
power.
one last annoying question. Here's an annoying question, and then I'm gonna pass it off to Ken because I don't want to end on a Ken. Why a dude on the picture and not someone else?
Because it was originally supposed to be me, so they tried to find somebody who was a close photo double for me.
I see.
On the revised edition, we may actually have a female model. The only problem is the revised edition is called The Power to Speak Naked, bigger, longer, and uncut. So it might not make sense to have a lady on.
That's like this is Spinal Tap. Smell the glove. That is good. I like that.
Yeah, and if Matt Stone or Trey Parker are listening, yes, I ripped you off. It was a good title. I like it.
Yeah. I had a date in LA, and I think it was Trey Parker sat next to me, and I felt a little, because he had 2 dates, and I just had the one. I was, come on, dude, make me feel bad.
Ken, last question,
I think
and
it's
then
great.
we're gonna let him go.
I got so much more. I wanted to talk about Malaysia because both Bill and I have lived in Asia. Is Letterkenny like super accurate?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so the funny thing is Letterkenny is based in Ontario, so it is super accurate for Ontario, but it hits every Canadian stereotype. So I know those guys in my hometown. All of them.
Sure.
All of them is somebody I know in my hometown. Yes.
It's accurate to Bowling Green, Kentucky, USA.
I think it's universal to a lot of places. You just have to replace hockey player with whatever the local sport is.
Baseball.
And just know that because they're the jocks, right? The hockey players are the jocks. So whether it's baseball or football or basketball, which who likes that? Yeah.
Thank you.
Tyler, you are welcome to, I know you're very, very busy. If you ever want to try tabletop role-playing game, your Paladin joke, level 12 Paladin, was pretty good. You are welcome to play DreadLore one Monday night or a day that you can do it.
Yeah, if
it's in the cards,
I definitely will.
It's in the card.
And we will definitely have to do round 2 of this podcast because
I'd love to.
I can talk Malaysia all day long. So
nice,
right,
excellent.
We'll do round
last
2.
Anecdotes, and then we're gonna sign off.
All right,
Tyler, what's an anecdote? Tell us a joke or a riddle or your favorite merp.
My favorite joke is the first joke that I ever learned, and this joke once I learned it at a house party that friends of my parents threw when I was 4 years old. I learned this joke on a Friday night and then told it to my pastor in the middle of church on Sunday morning. And it goes as follows. What did the bra say to the hat?
I don't know. What is it?
You go on ahead and I'll give these 2 a lift.
Good.
Pastor Bowie laughed.
Name's
My
Pastor
mother
Bowie.
did not.
Good. Buckmud says, please have Tyler on again, if possible.
Buckmud, just because you asked, I will.
All right. That's it. That's all we got. Tyler,
right.
Thank you very much for joining us and giving us your time.
It was a joy and a pleasure, gentlemen. I'm going to run off to my next gig, and you and I will chit-chat again later.
Absolutely. Stay frosty, sir.
Do you want to talk about our sponsor for the night?
Oh, yeah. Who is our sponsor for the night? The setup was good. The very, very good setup. Very good setup. I was going to do it. Everybody's been stealing my shit tonight. Fuck. If you guys don't know the reference there, you should check out our Monday night podcast, DreadLore Live Play. It's in the playlists and all these things, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whew. Ken, you want to lead us out?
Sure.
Do it. Do it.
Art media of this podcast has been brought to you by Couchfire Media.
Couchfire Media.
Score by all lowercase letters, Mr. Interrupt.
All lowercase letters, Mr. Interrupt.
Trois Productions has brought to you a lot of the content that we talk about and emotional instability.
Yeah.
As well as a super special thanks to our Patreon members, Tim Roberts, Nostalgic, Natalia Cline, and Daniel Hulker.
Daniel motherfucking Hulker, the incredible Hulkster.
Tonight, featured Steen Twiler. No, just kidding. Sean, I guess only is. So we're gonna go with Tyler Foley.
Tyler Foley.
Thank you.
Really good
awesome guest. Yeah, awesome guest. Had a lot of fun. That's all we got. Bye,
That's
all.
all we got. Bye, all. We'll be back. Oh wait, we'll be back tomorrow.
Are we gonna go live tomorrow?
Why not? I mean,
I thought it was a pre-record.
Are we pre-recording?
I think we should. I think we should I mean, I would like to go live, but I feel like we shouldn't just like throw it on the guest.
What we should do is we should go live, but then hide it.
No, I think that's wrong on some like ethical level.
What are you talking about? It's not wrong. You catch it. You catch it. You catch it if you catch it, and then we release it. You know when it's released.
I feel like the guests should know if they are being broadcast.
Oh well, tell him.
Oh yeah, I feel like if he knows, I think we should do it. It should be a riveting.
By the way, we tell him.
Okay.
That way, these people might jump on.
I mean, I'm not against going live. I mean, I'll throw it down. I'll
go
pick
live. Okay, we might be live tomorrow.
I think that the subject matter is super now. Because there's stuff going on that if you read that article, it's all happening.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you anything
have the
about
juice.
it.
So
Scandals.
Meet us
Scandalous.
tomorrow. What time? 3 p.m.
Maybe.
Standard.
Maybe.
3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And if we're not on by 4, then it's not happening.
Then you'll see it. You'll see it here in like 3 weeks.
In a couple of weeks.
But it should be live tomorrow around 3 p.m. It's gonna be interesting. Check it out.